from about the age of 10.
I got kicked out of like my house when I was living there, so I just ended up like living rough, you know, on the streets and that.
Well, my mum's always drunk, not really cared, and I had a big sister as well who treated me really badly.
These are Britain's throwaway kids. This is Carl. He's 17. He's a bright young teenager keen to get a job and somewhere to live. You wouldn't give him a second glance. But Carl's a throwaway kid.
I was 1 year old, I don't know what happened, but I was taken into care and put up for adoption by social services. Around the age of 11, behaviour started going worse and the relationship with my parents started breaking down. I was given a social worker, and after a few months I was taken into care.
Since then, Carl has lived at a string of addresses, including parks and alleyways all round Manchester.
To be sleeping rough, it's more than you could think of if you haven't done it. It's harder, it's cold, it's sometimes wet, you feel loneliness a lot. You know, you've just got yourself. You miss not going home to a bed and a family.
It's on nights like this, charity workers in inner cities worry most about young people like Carl. LifeShare offers blankets and food to Manchester's homeless. When they started 10 years ago, it was older people who stood in the queue for a hot drink. Now the cold, hungry and thirsty customers are getting younger.
It certainly seems that there are more and more young people, and certainly the prostitutes and the older homeless that we deal with on a daily basis certainly say that they are meeting more younger people, and they really do not know how to look after themselves, and this concerns the older prostitutes and it concerns the older homeless. When you see some of these young boys and girls, 14 and 15, and really they look little more than children, and they're leading this very, very dangerous life. Some live in squats, some live with friends, they live in sheds, they live in anywhere, absolutely anywhere.
If you don't know that, if that point ain't getting through to people, they're not going to look out for it. They'll just see what's on the corner and think, oh, it's only the odd one. So a lot goes unseen.
It even goes unseen here in the National Missing Persons Bureau at Scotland Yard. The Bureau keeps details of all vulnerable people reported missing for 28 days or more. Anyone under 18 is automatically defined as vulnerable.
The total varies on a daily basis. It's normally about 200 to 300 people. But with young people under 16, today we have got 64, and under 18 we've got 79. So it isn't a vast number of young people missing.
Others believe there could be thousands who are not on any official list, hidden away in doorways, squats and under bridges. Graham Brown of the Children's Society charity recently commissioned the most comprehensive research ever into young runaways.
People working in the field know that the National Missing Persons Bureau figure of 79 is absolutely ludicrous. Our own research and the research of many other agencies demonstrates that there are literally thousands of children who are running away from home or from local authority care and ending up in the streets. Our own research shows us again that about 50,000 children a year are running away. Now the question we have to ask is, why are they running away? They're not running away to something, they're running away from something.
The key question of why children end up on the streets was answered last month by the Centrepoint charity. They found a third of young people using their hostels were kicked out of home, and a further quarter were forced out after family rows.
I had a lot of trouble with my mum, a lot of arguments, and she used to beat me up. I just got on the train, phoned up Childline because I didn't have anywhere to stay, and they found me a hostel. I was only 15 at the time.
Well, I'm 16 years of age. I left home about a month ago. It was a bit distressing because it was quite early in the morning, like 4 o'clock. I packed my bag and I stayed out all night.
Why did you leave?
Because I didn't get on with my dad and he hit me.
Thank you for calling Message Home. After the tone, you will have 1 minute to leave your message, which will include the name and phone number of the person you wish the message to be sent.
When the National Missing Persons Helpline charity began operating a message home service for young people, they discovered further disturbing reasons why children leave.
Please speak clearly and slowly after the tone. Thank you.
One of the most common is they've had a row at home, they've fallen out, again they think nobody loves them. And again, I'm afraid it's more often than not, it's often abuse somewhere in the family. And they'll also say that I tried to tell them, but nobody would believe me.
Children may know precisely why they leave their homes. They're less certain where to go when they shut the door behind them. Many are tempted to the centre of the nearest city. Here in Manchester, Vice Squad detectives are often the first adults to spot a new face on the streets.
This area in particular is quite a magnet for the youngsters. It's what we class as our red light area, which is predominantly frequented by prostitutes and their clients. The youngsters come down here, and basically what they do is they just hang around the street corners. The old sort of saying, big lights, big city, bright lights. They want to come down, they're curious what the city centre holds for them. And it's not always what they think when they actually get here. It can be a nasty place to be in a city centre.
It can be even nastier in London. More youngsters run here to the capital's bright lights than to any other city. They're drawn in, but soon they see another life in the shadows. Danger and fear forces many to hide away. And the recent study by the Charities Centrepoint revealed that homeless young people are getting much younger. Almost half of them are now under 17.
What we're seeing in London is the tip of an iceberg. There are many, many thousands of children who are homeless, if you like, the hidden homeless, who are staying in squats, bed and breakfast hotels. Some children are actually trying to avoid adults. They're scared of adults. They're sleeping out rough. They're sleeping in graveyards on some occasions.
Workers from the charity London Connection walk around the centre of the city looking for these children. And they know the youngest are the hardest to find.
We often find that with the young people, they're very, very transient. They move around quite fast in the West End. So when you're doing an evening session, you have to cover quite a vast area. So it's a lot of walking and a lot of double backing on places that you've already been, because they might have sort of like turned up as you've left. It's just a revolving door. And the problem is that they don't stop coming on the street. And it's like you can house 10 young people today, but another 10 will come through the door tomorrow.
Finding help is not an easy task for a young homeless person in a strange city. The Children's Society's findings show that 2/3 of them feel they have nowhere to turn for help.
The first and most fundamental safety net for the welfare of children must be the family. We know from our own research that children, over 60% of the children we interviewed, came from families where there had been separation or divorce, and we know that that has a devastating effect on children as well as the parents. The second safety net has to be the local authority's social services department. They are under a legal obligation to promote the welfare of the children, and we know, everyone who's working in the field, that for whatever reason, whether it be lack of resources or because they don't have their act together, that children are falling through those safety nets. What is actually happening now is that more and more children are actually turning to charities, who are actually having to pick up the pieces because of the inadequacy of other organisations' performance.
The London Connection charity picks up the pieces for around 600 youngsters every year. Double security doors protect those who go there from the dangers outside. Inside, they can get a cup of tea, cheap food, entertainment and advice.
You can have showers, wash your clothes, watch telly, you know what I mean, have a game of pool, table tennis, get cheap food, drink and that. It's just a lot better from outside.
It gives you a bit of pride in yourself. I mean, you can come here and do your washing, have interviews for like hostels and things like that. Just basically helps you get back on your feet and everything.
Hi, Si. Hi, Jay.
Angela Protein is a manager at the drop-in centre.
This is the left luggage store. This is a service for young people that are sleeping rough, actually sleeping on the streets. We try to limit every young person to just one bag, and yet we never have enough space. Each one of these bags is full of people's total worldly goods, and they may have important things in there like birth certificates, passports, or even pictures of loved ones. It's sad to think that these bags represent a young person's life.
Feel more human in here as well, because on the street, begging or thieving, whatever, no one takes you for who you are. But in here, people look at you and think, yeah, still human no matter what he's doing. Like.
You're a lot warmer in here. You're not up to any mischief. Like, you can't get in any trouble. I mean, you can do anything. I was typing CVs up for a job yesterday.
Getting a job is tough without a proper address, and the government has cracked down on social security for 16 and 17-year-olds, making it almost impossible for them to claim it.
There are particular problems with young people between 16 and 18 because it's very difficult for them to sign on and impossible for them to sign on. And so therefore they have to resort to other ways of living, getting money, such as begging, which of course again you're in danger of falling foul of the law because it's still illegal to beg.
Spare some change, please.
For many young people, learning how to survive on the streets is the first step on a downward spiral, and that spiral often begins with begging. Stig left his mother's home in Bradford for good last winter after running away many times before. He's still only 16.
I beg, it's the only way I can get money. Spare some change, so, you know, people come past me and spare some change, please, and have something to eat. The West End is the best place to beg. Piccadilly Circus, like, just sit down and beg for hours. And it's all right down here because it's friendly people and that. I don't feel ashamed because, like, this is my situation. This is what you know. This is how I am now. You know, take it or leave it.
Stig could go back to a warm bed in his mother's house in Bradford, but he chooses to sleep here to avoid the inevitable rows back home.
Well, I live in an arch just down the road. It's not sheltered from the wind. It's really windy, but it's sheltered from the rain. I don't really want to go back with my mum because it's just going to be too much hassle again, you know.
Back in Manchester, the Vice Squad is all too familiar with the downward spiral of street life. Vice Squad officer Barbara Thomas has seen many fresh-faced youngsters take their first steps into crime.
The problem we have is trying to keep the youngsters on the straight and narrow that come and visit. They can very, very quickly fall into very, very strange habits, and then they slowly but surely progress to crime.
The centre of Manchester is home to many youngsters in trouble, like John. He's been in children's homes and slept rough. He tried to go back to his mother, but rowed with her boyfriend.
How would you manage for food?
Go out grafting.
When you say grafting, what do you mean?
Going out robbing cars, stereos, phones. Anything you can get hold of, that was going to get us money. Well, we'd either carry a screwdriver or a shattering stone, shatter the window, or jam the lock. Take what you can get your hands on. I've done burglaries, done everything. Everything you can think of robbing, I've done it. I have to do it to survive, because if I don't do it, I'll just end up rotting away.
As the spiral descends further, life on the streets becomes more dangerous and more violent for these children. The Children's Society's own research reveals that 1 in 4 of young people on the streets have been attacked.
They might actually be subject to violence from other people who are on the street as well. Other people will offer them drugs, which they'll probably take, something to keep out the cold and something to keep out the pain that they're feeling.
Pauline is 17. She started running from home when she was 13. 4 weeks ago, she left her parents' home for the last time. She sleeps on a friend's floor, has no job and no money.
I'm not on the heroin, but I do take cocaine.
Have you tried heroin?
Yesterday. Just made me feel sick. Just felt depressed and I just didn't want to feel like that, so I was just hoping that maybe it'd make me feel different. Just wanted to try it and I took it.
Why do you take cocaine?
Because it just makes me feel nice. I don't feel depressed. Just forget about everything else.
How much money are you spending on that?
About £100 a day.
There's only one way young girls can make that kind of money: prostitution. The Children's Society's findings reveal that 1 in 7 youngsters on the street engaged in sex for money.
They easily get involved in such sort of offences. There are young children that prostitute themselves in order to get money.
The steady increase in young girls working the streets even worries the older prostitutes.
Do you reckon there's a lot more youngsters out around here?
There's too many, which I think is disgusting. They try and stand near me, right, and I'll go like, OK, I'm what, 28, 29 nearly now, OK? And they'll stand near me and I'll go, move, because it doesn't look nice on me. You know what I mean? Little youngsters, and I say, you better get home, because if I see the vice, I'm pulling him and I'm telling him.
The ones I've come across mostly, or predominantly down here, are youngsters that are in the care of the local authority, under the care of social services. They seem to be the frequent visitors around here, and for some reason it attracts them more than other youngsters. 2 girls that come into my mind more often than anybody else, really. We have 2 sisters. One's currently 15 and one's 16.
This is the older sister. Mandy's lost count of the care homes and foster parents she's had since her mother left her. At 13, she was in London, a prostitute hooked on heroin. Now she's back in Manchester, a familiar face in the red light area, but still under a care order from Manchester Social Services.
Well, I get up about 12 o'clock and I'm on heroin, so I have to go out prostituting and get some money.
And did you start drugs first or prostitution first?
Drugs.
And how did that
happen? I was on heroin at the age of 13.
And how did you get into prostitution?
I was hanging around with girls that done it themselves.
And have you tried to get off heroin?
I've been off it and on it loads of times. My boyfriend died 2 months ago from it.
Was it a mistake?
Yeah. We were asleep at night and I woke up in the morning and I said, are you okay? And it's gone.
Her sister Tracy is a prostitute too. She is just 15. She's in the full-time care of Manchester Social Services.
Tell me, where do you live?
In a children's home. My mother left me when I was 9.
What's that like?
Shite.
So, do you stay in the children's home all the time?
No, I'm never there.
And so, how long have you been on the street?
About 2.5 years.
I despair. I mean, kids that are spoke to me, might be an old-fashioned point of view, but to me, that somebody's in the care of a caring agency like social services should be exactly that. They should be cared for. They shouldn't be allowed to come out and get involved in prostitution. I find it very hard to understand why, if a child's in social services, that they're virtually allowed to run amok and do what they want.
We find increasingly that when teenagers come into care, they are now extremely damaged and disturbed, and social services do not create disturbed and damaged children. People who abuse the children and people who do not look after them properly in their previous environments must take some responsibility.
If you had a choice, where would you like to be?
Dead.
All right. Have you ever tried to kill yourself?
Yeah.
How did you do that?
Overdoses and things like that.
I show very grave concern for her. I do fear for her safety. I've put a report into the social services saying as much, that I fear that one day that this girl will be found dead in Manchester.
Police have told us that they're concerned that they may in fact find one of these young girls in the gutter one day, dead.
I think you should ask the police to explain why they made that comment. It's not for me to comment on what the police have said.
She can't handle the things she gets into. She's been involved in solvent abuse, drug abuse, theft, robberies, and ultimately prostitution, and that is her way of life. That she continues to do it. She continues to be under the care of social services, and she continues to come out here and commit the offences while still under the care of social services.
We haven't got a magic wand. We have, for both of them, bought outside expert help. When the children came back to us, we understood that they were responding to help. Once they came back, they chose to leave the children's homes they were living in and go back on the streets. We are not allowed by law to lock children into the homes. We cannot stop them adopting a way of life if they choose to do so. Having said that, we haven't abandoned these 2 children. We are still working with them, and one of them is due to go to another specialist resource in the very near future, which will be at considerable cost to the City Council.
Mandy and Tracy are not alone. This 14-year-old boy is also known to social services. We found him wandering around on his own in the red light area. His name is Mark. He's been a rent boy, a male prostitute, since he was 13. His parents are divorced, and most nights he lies to his father, with whom he stays, so that he can wander the streets. Often he doesn't go home.
I do a lot of renting, and that's how I make my money, by renting. Most of the time I get paid about 50 quid, and I feel sick afterwards.
The money that you make, do you get to keep all that money for yourself?
Yeah. I used to work for someone, but he died.
What about the punters? How do they behave with you?
All of them, they're all right. But there's some people that you've got to watch out for. In case they might drag you in the car and sort of like has a knife.
Have you tried to stop?
Yeah. I just starting for some money. So then just went back on it again.
Isn't it appalling that a 14-year-old boy can be abused on the streets of a modern city? Unfortunately, we didn't know about this youngster's plight until shortly before you came into Manchester. Just before this programme was being researched, we actually found out about the boy, and he is now in our care, and at this stage responding well to our care and attention.
But care by the social services can never be a substitute for a proper home life for Mark.
Do you miss your mum?
Yeah.
What's it like living with your dad? How do you get on with him?
Not that good.
Do you think he loves you?
Well, no.
Thousands of throwaway kids will spend tonight neglected and forgotten.
I think any caring adult must be shocked, saddened and indeed angry at a 14-year-old boy having to survive in that way. What we're seeing now, what we're witnessing, is the growth of a group of children and young people who are alienated and marginalised from mainstream society, the lost generation. If children are our future, then all of us, that's parents, social services, teachers and central government, really must come together to find a solution to this problem, to offer these children some hope.
Don't really know where to go or who to go to. Cut my wrists. Took an overdose a couple of times, but none of them ever worked.
I mean, I've got the street, you know, the street's like a major family. You know, we're all brothers and sisters, we're all in the same boat and everything.
I wish I could go back, but this is the way it is. This is the way it's got to be.
So from now on, you've just got to think about yourself, and you've got to look after yourself.